master category portion of the show is when we get to talk about the tokens we drew the week before. We pick our topics based on those categories, and that's how this part works.
That's true.
Luke, since you finished us off, why don't you pick us up?
Okay. So I had TV and film. I have not been good about as good as Patrick has been this year about going to movies. I have been bad, which is weird because I'm the movie guy. A lot.
You're not.
Not for the show, but like in general, I see a lot of movies.
As far as your friends are concerned,
on your birthday.
Well, just in general. Yes, on my birthday, yes. But in general, I normally go to see a lot of movies.
Yeah,
I just
for
haven't.
me, when I'm with my friends, I'm the movie guy and the toy guy and the game
Sure,
guy
right.
and the art guy.
Yeah.
By the way, did y'all see that Game Night actually has good reviews so far?
Yeah, I don't know.
That movie looks great.
I don't know.
Looks
we'll see.
great.
So
We'll
pumped.
see.
I'm
I
recording
feel like
this
we saw all
podcast
the great
instead of
parts.
watching Game Night.
I feel like we saw all the good parts in the previews. So,
Well, I'll let you know next week.
well, I'll let you know next week.
I'll let you know
I'm
in
gonna
5
let
days.
myself know tomorrow.
Oh, okay, fine. Anyway, so I have caught up on a couple of movies. Two movies that there's a whole lot of more movies I want to see, but two that I wanted to see more than anything else. And when I tell you what two they are you're going to go, really? But it's true.
Back to the Future 2.
and 2 and 3. No, the first one was The Foreigner, Jackie Chan, The Foreigner. Patrick, did you see that? I can't remember if you had said you saw it or not.
No.
He didn't see
Let
it.
me tell you why I didn't see it. I didn't.
A review said he
Because you
shouldn't.
read reviews.
Not because of review, because I read the synopsis and found out it's like a pretty serious. It didn't seem to be as action heavy as I was hoping based on the previews, and so I stayed away from it.
Yeah, it's super action heavy.
Well, mother,
It's an action movie. Like there is.
It's essentially like Rush Hour.
you say it's a sensual rush hour.
It's a sensual rush hour. Yes.
By the way, they have
But
announced they
instead
are
of
working
Chris
on the next
Tucker,
Rush Hour
Put
film.
in Pierce Brosnan, and it's that. It's not that. It's don't take that's wrong.
Don't take that's wrong.
Don't take that wrong. It's the story of Jackie Chan's character. He's a guy who loses his daughter in an explosion. And the whole movie is him saying, I want to know what happened.
Have you seen my daughter? Have you seen my daughter?
Because he didn't know. He didn't know that's what happened. He had to keep trying to find her.
No, sadly, that would be a better movie, probably. Jackie Chan is awesome. He does all his own stunts. Yeah. It's more Jackie Chan doing what he does, which is fighting guys and jumping off things and doing crazy stuff. And it's good for that. As far as the story of the movie, I knew exactly what happened before, like, we were 15 minutes into the movie. And so there's no surprises. You figure everything out before they reveal it. And the story's okay, but it's Jackie Chan being Jackie Chan, which is awesome. So that was good. Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That'll be a really strong Netflix watch in another month.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. It's definitely worth watching on Netflix. I Redboxed it, so I mean it was definitely worth $1. The other movie that I went and saw in the theater was Molly's Game. Jessica Chastain. That movie was good. I really liked it. Yep. I didn't know the story. But man, it was great. I was just hooked. Like I was in. It's a Sorkin movie. It's Aaron Sorkin did the screenplay, and it started slow, and I was like, man, this feels weird for a Sorkin movie. But by the end of it, you realize I've just listened to 2 hours of dialogue, and there's nobody stopped talking. Like there's just so much dialogue as you have with anything Sorkin. It doesn't
play like a normal Sorkin film, though. Like,
no.
People aren't walking the whole time.
True. It's true, but it is always talking.
It's great.
It's really good. And Jessica Chastain, she was great.
Let people know the story. The story is she's 27, right? Is that correct, her age?
In the time of the movie, when all that went down, I think so. Or 29, something like that.
Basically, she goes from the service industry to managing this large underground high roller poker game, correct?
Well, it's
Right.
not underground because it's completely legal for a bit.
Well, I was going to say it is, she ended up in court, so I'm going to say that it's presented as underground. But
No.
it's-
You didn't see the movie, so you're saying a lot of.
No, I've read the background on the person the story's about.
Right. She went to court. You're right. But it was because she started doing things illegally for a long time, for
But
years.
The issue was whether she was paying on the actual money that was coming in and things like that. So
the issue is whether or not she was taking a cut of
if she was
yeah.
scalping any off the top, which is
Right,
the illegal
exactly.
part of the game.
That's the illegal portion of it. And
And it turns out she was, but the reason she went into court later was because they thought she was doing it again.
right.
When she
Well, they thought she had ties with some of the people
Right.
who came to these games.
Right.
But they're like they were ultra exclusive, ultra high roller, like invite only situations.
Yep.
And it was just a really, really captivating story.
It was. And the way
fact
they
that it's
played
true is
some of
great.
the celebrities, that, she's never actually revealed who these celebrities at her table were.
Right.
But the way that
Even to this day, she
yeah,
doesn't.
even
she
to this
doesn't
day,
tell.
I mean, there's people like if you go down that rabbit hole, chances are it's these three people probably. But it was I didn't know anything about the like Olympian side of it, like back in the day, and then in the movie, I don't know how the book was, but the interaction with her and her dad later in the film was really, really good.
Which is played by Kevin Costner.
Yeah, which he was great.
Great, yeah.
But yeah, I really liked it. The other movie she was in recently that I watched on Amazon Prime was Sloane. Did you guys see that at all? That's more of a drama. I had no idea what it was
She
about.
was also in Zero Dark 30, right?
Yes.
Okay. I remember.
And but Sloane is good too. That's another like more like court drama kind of thing. But yeah, man, it's good. I caught up on movies and it felt good to watch some movies that I'd missed. That's about
Yeah,
it.
it did.
I don't care who wants to take it. Somebody grab it.
I'll talk about it.
Go for it.
So I got toys and games this week, and if you're wondering about who this guy is, that means you didn't watch the Around the Table episode. But I'm gonna keep him right here because he's my new friend. But I got a game that I don't even have in my hands yet, but I purchased it and I'm getting ready to play it when we finish this campaign of Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And Luke, I'm interested to see what you think about this. Maybe you've already heard of it, but if you haven't, hopefully you'll check it out. It's a game called City of Mist.
I've heard of this. Yes.
Okay, so City of Mist is a game that was originally created on Kickstarter, or was originally pitched on Kickstarter. But it has now kind of come to fruition. It's a game that's you can get now, but it's an RPG. It's a role playing game, much like Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure.
But the mechanics are slightly different, and the genre is different. So Dungeons and Dragons takes place in like that medieval era, that kind of
High fantasy.
High fantasy. This is a neo-noir game, and it takes place in like this gritty kind of Gotham-esque or Sin City or Dick Tracy type of world. And you're trying to solve mysteries and different cases. Like you have these different cases you're trying to solve. But your characters are I'm gonna pull it up so that I am not just talking out of my butt. Your characters, everything is kind of this cinematic role-playing experience.
Okay.
And the art style of this game is very much rooted in the graphic novel, very much plays like a Sin City type graphically based artscape.
Okay.
And so you've got different characters. I'm trying to pull up what the names of some of the characters are. So you've got Excalibur, you've got Oh my gosh. I started to read them off and realized this only shows one.
Excalibur.
And Excalibur, if you've not seen Excalibur yet, she's pretty cool. Have you guys heard about Excalibur? I can't, now that I'm like trying to look this up in real time.
I like to imagine that she's Excalibur, but the other people are like, Jeff.
One of the characters' names is Postmortem. I remember that. And she like had died. And so anyway, it's called City of Mist because you've got this world that these all of these characters, or this city that all these characters are living in. And it is seemingly just like our normal real world, certainly like the grittier, grungier side of it. But that's all just kind of a facade to what's really happening under the skin, and all of the characters are the same way, and you learn things about yourself as you play the game, that you realize who you are isn't exactly what you seem to be. You have a mythos kind of buried within you. There's a backstory to you, and you may even have some powers and some abilities and some things like that. So it takes the normal Dungeons and Dragons or RPG mechanic, and if you're used to that, it has some nuanced versioning of how that whole thing works. But the art is incredible. I ordered the core book and the starter set, and then they have a campaign book that's coming out shortly. It's not out yet, but it'll be out in a couple months. But you can build your own world with these characters, and I'm really excited to play it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love.
So, are you going to be the DM? Is it?
I think I'm gonna. Yeah, I think I'm going to game master it.
Okay.
To give our current DM a break, since we all have to learn this anyway, I may as well learn it and then run it.
Sure.
So it's going to be really cool. Once I get the book in, I'll show it on the show. But for now, check out City of Mist. Like the character sheets are a bifold. Like on the inside, you have all your character backstory info and all of your ability checks and whatever they call it.
Yeah.
But on the reverse side, they're laminated and like a nice thick card, laminated, and they essentially can function as movie posters. And so each character has this very cinematic art. Are you looking at it right now?
Yeah.
It looks great. Like
it looks good.
The illustrator. I wish I could find the illustrator at a glance. I can't find it on the game is put out by Son of Oak Game Studio, but I don't know who the artist is who did.
I don't know what I was expecting, but when something's called City of Mist, I expect more mist and brighter hues and gradients, and it isn't that at all.
Are you looking at the core book, because there's a ton of mist in the core book cover.
I just meant like it's like these, and you've already described it really well, but thinking of like Sin City style, although with color and these hard lines and rough drawings, and it's just not at all what I was expecting based on the name.
Yeah, it's great. When you buy the print version of the book, you get an immediate download of the PDF of it. So I've already gone through and started looking at the PDF. It's a 512-page book. So it's a good sized book, and some of the pages inside are just essentially like several pages in a row will be a story arc in graphic novel form. So it's cool. So, and then obviously it comes with maps, and like maps of the various places in the city, maps of various areas of the different scenarios, and scenario cards and things. It gives you a ton of resources, and so I'm excited to debrief it and maybe even do like a gameplay video of it or something, because it's really new. There's relatively little you can find on the internet about it. There's a handful of people who have talked about it, but not a ton of people. It's not nearly as widely accepted or known yet as something like Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer or whatever. So anyway, that's mine. So check out City of Mist if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Patrick, take us to.
Yeah, I don't think you have a choice.
the Happy Town.
Today is art and design, and so I'm actually referencing a topic I talked about earlier in the episode, or if you're watching on YouTube, in last episode, and that's the movie Maze Runner Death Cure. So Maze Runner Death Cure is the third installment in the series, and just really not a very good movie. But what did stand out to me, so the naming in this movie is terrible, by the way. The people that get infected are known, like one of the signs is they start getting like really cranky, and their names are, guess what? Cranks.
Oh,
it's Cranks. And
Crank
then
guys.
the evil parent, or the evil organization Big Brother is known as
Yankers.
Wicked.
Oh,
I see. So like Wicked and
you get
Cranks,
it? 'Cause it'd be
and
Crank
like
Yankers.
no, like the show on the comedy.
I got
channel.
mail! Yay!
Dude, that is such a. Oh man, I had blocked all that out. And then the place they all go to and they escape is called Safe Haven. You spend another 5 minutes when you're naming this stuff, because you could
just call it Savin', because then you've saved a ton of time.
Thanks, Dwight. It's just, I don't know. It was incredibly lazy. But the point is, not a great movie, but Wicked.
Surprising for like a youth novel.
I was trying to determine if he was joking or not.
If you were naming him in this book, his character name would be Conversation Killer.
That would be in line. So, but Wicked's police force
Sam
had
or just Sam.
Not even Sam. They have awesome uniforms. That's what I'm trying to get to. Their uniforms. They were great. I would like to point out, and I'm realizing this might be spoilers, but the movie's already been out for several weeks now. The uniforms, I love them. I will say there's a bit of a weirdness in the movie, which is that the people and Wicked clash at one point, and yet somehow none of the kind of normal folks manage to mistake the people that are in disguise as Wicked soldiers for actually being Wicked soldiers. Very lucky, because they had RPGs and chose not to shoot down the giant flying police helicopter. I don't know how they knew that their own people had control of it. It doesn't matter. It's more crappiness in the movie.
Wait, are you saying this movie isn't realistic?
I'm just saying that I would have expected some friendly fire given the scenario and given the way they were presenting themselves. But the uniforms were great. So the police uniforms, it's typical like all black tactical like loadout that you'd expect. But my favorite part is they had these black masks that covered their full face, and they were had this kind of slope. It's almost like an egg shape. That sounds stupid. It's head shaped. How about that? But it is almost like smooth on the front, just completely black. And then there's some attachments on the side, like little lights or whatever. But they look so menacing. When you see like a group of like 15 people that are wearing this all black loadout and this like, you can't even recognize any facial features or anything. It's just this black. It's great. So I actually looked up about the film and specifically about these uniforms and this wardrobe, and found that there's this forum that I managed to come across that I can't even tell you the purpose of the forum. I think specifically it's for people that are making costumes and things like that.
Like cosplay?
And like cosplay stuff. That's exactly. So I don't know enough about cosplay to know if that's like an okay term to use for costumes or if it's like a specific thing. Okay. So this guy was posting trying to find out more information, and someone in the forum happened to work on the Maze Runner film. He was actually one of the people that was responsible. He was a military coordinator on the film, and so he was responsible for some of the gear. And what he says is that they only actually ever made. And by the way, I'm gonna send you a picture real quick, because if you haven't seen it, you don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna drop this in chat. You can take a look at it, and then we'll put it in show notes. This is one of the pictures he posted of himself, but he was saying they only had 20 of these helmets. They were custom made. And they only had 20 for the film. No padding on the inside, incredibly uncomfortable, very bad. Only a very you could only really see what was right in front of you. You didn't have really good field of vision, and it was really cold where they were filming, so they would frost up. And because there's only 20 of them, and they're getting used and swapped by so many people, they were getting damaged constantly and having to be repaired. So really, they were a total pain to deal with for the film. But again, there's more in this forum, and I'll post a link to the forum. So if you want to read more about it, and he's sharing a lot of behind the scenes pictures and talking a lot about what goes in the uniform. But it got me thinking about wardrobe in general, and wardrobe that makes or breaks a film experience. And so even with Maze Runner not being a very good film, whenever these people were on screen, it elevated the movie for me. They felt menacing and they felt tough, and I would be more engaged just by way of watching someone in this outfit. And I'm not even getting to see a person. I'm not getting to see facial expressions, but it would engage me a bit deeper. And on the thought of wardrobe, and this is going to be a really big shift in conversation, but I was also thinking about the work that was happening on Marvelous Miss Maisel. So Marvelous Miss Maisel is an Amazon show. It's about a woman kind of finding her voice,
she's
emotionally,
a comedian,
but also
right?
literally, because she's a comedian and she's working on stand-up comedy and developing a routine and all those things.
Well, in a time where that wasn't normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And
where women
she's
stayed home and
she's
made
basically
sure that food was ready.
Yeah, she's learning how to be an independent person in a time where women are considered to be wildly dependent on their husbands and the people in their life. So, but that being said, if you've seen the film, Rachel Brosnahan, who is the lead actress, her wardrobe is awesome. It's really, really great. But in going back and reading more about the wardrobe, which was done by Donna Zakowski. I think she's the wardrobe director on it. It actually isn't tied to a specific time period directly. The wardrobe is meant to meld different pieces, not only from kind of a couple of periods of time, but also from Midge's personality. That's the character. And it's meant to create a feeling of a time period, but it's not a direct pull from a time period. And a great example of that would be the wardrobe in something like Stranger Things is a direct pull from the time period. Someone posted this past week, there was a post on Reddit where a guy had a class photo from 1983, and it is literally the exact same shirt that one of the characters in Stranger Things is wearing. So they are pulling outfits that are literally from that time period.
Right.
Whereas with Marvelous Miss Maisel, they are trying to construct the feeling of a time period, but they're actually creating it from scratch.
It's a theme.
Yeah, absolutely. And it works so well for the show. So now I want to take this and I want to turn it back on you, which is to say, is there an example of a film or a TV show that you would say the wardrobe either elevated it for you or just absolutely ruined it for you, that just messed up the experience? We were talking about this a bit beforehand, so Andrew, I think you already have some feelings about this.
I've got one loaded in the barrel. Yeah, so upon that question, I think specifically in reference to the one that pulled me out of the movie or ruined the movie for me is all of the wardrobing, all of the mutant wardrobing in any of the Fox X-Men films. And I've never fully embraced those films. And I like the X-Men as characters, but I've never fully embraced those films because the idea of trying to make those characters look more realistic by giving them like more like tactical suits, which is what they gave them, as opposed to their actual costuming from the comic books or whatever, or some variation of that, giving them all new kind of tactical uniforms. For me, as a way to make it feel more realistic. Now, keeping in mind these were some of the first in the new boom of comic book movies. Obviously, there's been comic book heroes in movies for years, but in like the newer boom of this, these were kind of the leading the charge, and it felt like that was going to be the direction for all superhero movies moving forward, which is adding this element of realism, pulling in the realism, removing less of the flashy blues and reds and like the really vibrant colors,
and comic
to make it feel more real, right? But in this case, it missed for me because you're asking me to embrace this as a reality and what the real world will be like, but then you're giving them superhuman abilities, and you're like you don't think that I can bridge that gap, of fantasy to reality for
on
one element, but
side.
you're asking me to do it for this other piece. And for me, like I just like Superman wears blue and red and has a cape and flies. He wears the spandex. Batman wears a cowl, and Wonder Woman has a lasso. Wolverine wears a yellow suit with claws. Like these. Like, it's fine. I've accepted that as a reality. For me, that pulled me out. And it's been that way for all of them. Even with the newer ones, like the origin ones and everything. The only one I was fine with was Logan. But Logan actually does take into consideration the comic book where you've got old man Logan, and he's got this like old lumberjack look to him. Lumberjacked look to him, but like I was fine with that because that film was the way that film was approached was entirely different. It wasn't a superhero film in the traditional sense, and so that for me pulled me out.
And he's kind of moved on at that point anyway.
Yeah,
so,
sure. Yeah. He doesn't want to be the Wolverine.
Yeah. Luke, do you have any that come to mind?
I mean, when I think of like costuming, it's hard because there's it's just such an art form. There's a lot of really, really good costuming. But like the stuff that I automatically that puts me in the place when I start seeing costumes in these films, it puts me in that world, and it's Star Wars. Like those like seeing stormtroopers or seeing like the new Crimson Guard. I can't remember what they're actually called from The Last Jedi. Like seeing just even the look of the people on Tatooine, like it transports you to this place that it's not Earth, and it feels right though. So I would say in the Star Wars universe, costuming is the thing that sells the idea of a world bigger than the world we know. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing that first comes to my mind.
What's amazing to me, one thing that stood out to me, by the way, specifically on that note and about Laura Dern, but it can apply to more people than Laura Dern. I'm just thinking about her right now. Sorry. And that's that the wardrobe is so quintessential in some ways. Sure. Like, or it's so established in some ways. Yeah. That it doesn't really adapt to the character. The character has to adapt to the wardrobe. Yeah. And I don't think she did. Like, she felt a bit like she almost felt uncomfortable, or looked uncomfortable with what she was wearing, like I think even beyond
she looked like she fit from the Capitol from the Hunger Games. She didn't fit the world the same way that
something was mismatched with her.
It seemed like she
and what she was wearing.
Yeah, she could have told Poe to have the odds be ever in his favor, and that would have made sense to me. It would have rung true.
It was just something was absolutely just off. And so it's to me, like, again, the wardrobe is so much what it should be that potentially the people can start clashing with it because, again, they have to kind of adapt to the wardrobe as opposed to the other way. So,
sure.
Yeah, anyway, that's it. So, again, Death Cure, you're not a good film. I still enjoyed the experience. Wicked Soldiers, poorly named. You elevated it
Those
for me.
helmets look like Destiny. They belong in Destiny.
They do.
They do.
It does look like a loadout from Destiny, absolutely. But I like it.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
I'm fine with it.
And again, it worked great in the film. So the only thing I'll say about Death Cure, this is one more thing. The leather chest holsters, too many of them. It's fine if like one guy rocks the style of like my pistol's right here and I have this like leather thing, but like only a couple people can effectively rock that style. And when you give it to 20 people, it loses the impact.
Can I take this? Can I take this to the natural following question then?
Do it, yeah.
If we were in a movie where we were superheroes, what would our thing be? Which one of us would have the chest, the leather chest holster, and like who would have the studded codpiece?
It wouldn't make sense for Luke to have the helmet because his beard would just hang out of it for like 3 feet of beard. Sure. Luke would have a chest holster. But I feel very strongly.
I think you're wrong.
He'd be ripping his beard off.
I'd be pulling the beard.
That's a good point. Gun. But my problem is my chest holster would accentuate.
Well, your chest holster would just be a regular holster on everybody else.
No, Patrick. When I picture you in Laura Dern's purple
robe
dress.
Yeah, exactly.
Her hair's purple.
That's a good question.
I just want to know what our things would be.
I imagine 3 people from Dazed and Confused.
Mine would be white leather chaps, fringed. Yep.
But capri chaps. So they're chaps and they're like a little short too.
I'd like to think that our movie that would play really well in context.
I would have like an old school military helmet with just a spike out the top of it.
Okay. Yep.
Yes, you would look like Buster
But it's
Bluth.
obviously never seen battle.
No,
like
never.
You have a desk job, but they've issued you this spike helmet, but you've never.
I put finished papers on it.
I like to think that I would have khaki shorts and Crocs in our film. So
I want to hope that they're turquoise Crocs too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, so what would your superhero outfit be? Let us know on the old Slack channel because this is important. So I think that's gonna be gonna be it for this episode. You can find all the show notes and links right below us if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not watching this on YouTube, what's your deal? Get with the program. We're on YouTube now. You can see all of the things that are to be seen. This is a very visual podcast. That being said, we didn't show a ton of stuff this episode.
Yeah, really, you're fine just to listen in this one.
But
in the future,
check us out on YouTube. But if you aren't on YouTube, go to mf1podcast.com. You can find show notes and links to all the stuff that we just talked about. And while you're there, you can find a whole slew of other episodes to suit your time. Suit your time? That's not a way that we would say that,
exactly,
but it's fine. I blame it on the brain. And while you're at that, join the Slack channel. Go to mf1podcast.com/Slack. And when you do that, you can be a part of a conversation with so many creatives, so many professionals, so many incredibly talented people. It's just so much fun.
There's even some creative professionals.
Yes, there are also that. But do that. You do that. You can support the show by liking this video, subscribing on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, everywhere that things are happening. That's where we're at. Like it and subscribe and share and do all the things. Internet, you know how to do this. And be our friends on social media. Go to MF1 Podcast on all the different platforms, and you'll find us there. Talk to us. We want to listen. We're going to be at a couple of different places coming up. We'll be at Crop in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's going to be a fun time. And then the very following week, we will be in Columbus, Georgia for Creative South Year 3.
Yeah.
I think it's there like Year 7. But
we're doing a workshop,
we'll be
guys.
there for our 3rd year. And we have a workshop. So
Podcasting with dummies.
Yes. your audio cut out for me, and it sounded like you said wind slack. Wind slack with dummies. All right, that's cool. But check out all of those different things. Go to their websites, register if you are in the area, and even if you're not in the area, get in the area and go and hang out. We're gonna have a great time.
Thing.
But that's it for now. I'm gonna call this one done because my name is Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Luke.
Peace out.
Bye.
Hold on to your butt.